The Norwegian Nobel Committee has decided to award the Nobel Peace Prize for 2025 to María Corina Machado. She is receiving the Nobel Peace Prize for her tireless work promoting democratic rights for the people of Venezuela.
The Nobel Peace Prize winner, María Corina Machado from Venezuela, Latin America. We do want to go now live to our Selma Abdelaziz, who is in London, here to give us a little bit more context of maybe why this is the recipient this year and what the background is here.
It is very easy to see, Brian, why she was chosen by the Nobel Committee. This is a woman who has dedicated her life to her country, Venezuela, which is, of course, now suffered under an economic crisis, under what is widely seen as a dictatorship, under increasing repression. And she has faced off with those authorities both boldly, bravely, and unbowingly. Just to go over a little bit of who she is, she was elected a member of the National Assembly in 2011. She held that seat for nearly 3 years and was eventually stripped of that seat. She tried to run for presidential elections and was also removed from the ballot, and that's not due to her popularity. Brian, there is an understanding that she has deep popularity on the ground and a huge movement behind her. About a year ago, she went into hiding, fearing for her life. We understand she remains in hiding. She recently did an interview with Elle magazine, speaking of that experience, saying that she's barely seen the sun in months, but that she continues to fight for what she believes in. And that is fundamentally, at its core, a peaceful transition to democracy for a country, again, that has suffered deeply under dictatorship. So, again, she is someone who very much embodies that sense of spirit of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, which is one that is unbending, unbowing to greater powers. Again, the power and brute of the state force of Nicolas Maduro. Someone who has not given up time and time again, despite facing accusations of treason, despite being physically harassed and assaulted, despite the power of Venezuela's government coming down on her. She has continued, again, her fight for democracy in her country. She is also a mother, an engineer by training, someone who has really been able to build roots and build a community and dig deep into Venezuela. So by awarding this prize, it's not only recognizing her work, Brian, it's a recognition of everything that's happening on the ground in Venezuela, but also of the larger context here. Dictatorships are on the rise. Autocracies are on the rise. That is the trend globally. So it is a recognition, again, of all of those who are fighting against repression, fighting against autocracy. So this will be a major win. And I know our news desk right now is working to find out reaction on the ground and to find out specifically her reaction as she remains in hiding from a government as far as we know, while she continues that battle face to face.
All right, Selma Abdelaziz for us live in London. Selma, thank you. Let's go now to get more information on this from defense analyst Alex Alvarez-Shears. He joins me from London. And Alex, if you can, walk us through why it's María Corina Machado receiving this award this year out of the 300 plus nominees.
I think one of the main reasons why it's been Machado is because she has demonstrated what it takes to actually try and push the dial for peace, to represent the very best angels in our nature. Whilst we've been overshadowed, this particular cycle has been overshadowed by all sorts of controversies. She has shown that if you want to push for peace, you have to make sacrifices, you have to be selfless yourself, and you have to focus on altruism in the face of all the adversity that comes with that. What's happened in Venezuela over the years is no secret. We all know about the tyranny that the Venezuelan people have been under, but she is a beacon of light in a world that is becoming increasingly beset by authoritarian trends and authoritarian streak. And I think this particular recipient, this particular award is one for unity, one for collective action, and one for global democracy.
Alex, I think we should note that the winner this year was not U.S. President Donald Trump, despite a campaign to become the recipient. And the Norwegian Committee Council leader, you really used democracy as a point to be made over and over again in his speech giving the award, saying at a time when democracy is under threat, it is more important than ever to defend this common ground. Can you just contextualize for us his speech, what this means for maybe future recipients and maybe just the worldview as a whole at the moment?
Well, the key thing that came from that speech, I thought, was tools of democracy are the tools for peace. This is absolutely critical. Democracy is inclusive. It is there to bring people together. It is there to unite people. And what we've seen from Washington under this administration is the very opposite. We've seen a lot of belittling, a lot of berating, a lot of bullying by this administration. Whilst we could point to some of the positive things that are happening in the Middle East at the very minute, what the Trump administration has also done is try to use force to justify things like annexing territory that belong to allies, trying to flirt with the idea of annexing the neighbor north of the United States in Canada. This sort of language is not constructive to peace. It is not constructive to unity going forward. And I think the speech that was made was to highlight, to emphasize the point that ultimately, if you want peace, you have to have the right intentions, and you have to embody the spirit and the ethos of peace, which is something that unfortunately, the Trump administration simply has not done. And again, this is to encourage future generations of activists, of leadership, of thought leaders, of politicians, to bring people together under the banner of peace, under the banner of democracy, to do good for all mankind, or as Alfred Nobel himself said, to create a fraternity of nations.
Yeah. All right, Alex Alferez-Shears, really appreciate you providing us some insight into this monumental moment here. I do want to go now to Isa Suarez, who's joining us. She, my colleague here, actually interviewed Maria Machado. And Isa, kind of just walk us through what your experience was talking with her and what you took away from it.
Good morning, Brian. Well, what a moment. What a moment for María Corina Machado, but also what a moment for Venezuelans who have for so long been fighting this fight for freedom, of course. She is very well known in Venezuela and beyond, in the Americas as well. I mean, she is known, Brian, as the Venezuelan Iron Lady, and she personifies in this fight that she's been fighting for so long. And I've known her even before she's taken on this charge, of course, of fighting for freedom. And she's shown throughout just resilience, Brian, just tenacity throughout. And she's faced huge challenges, and I think it's worth bearing in mind for people who do not know. She's still in hiding, right? She's still in hiding. We assume in Venezuela, and of course stand up to Nicolas Maduro, who lost the election of July 28 by more than 2-1 margin, although he never gave power. And she stood there and she continues to fight in hiding, away from her family, putting sacrifices on the line for the people of Venezuela. So this moment will be huge, not just for her and her team, but also for Venezuelans, millions who have fled, of course, under Maduro's regime. And while President Trump may not have won here, Brian, this will no doubt be welcome news, I'm sure, by the Trump administration, who have been fighting in the last couple of weeks. You'd have seen putting pressure on the Maduro regime, going after the Cartel de los Soles, and this will play very well within their foreign policy.
Fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.